Straight on stage, I took the backwards run. Spent 100 grand on cage. Stole all out walk out game. Fuck nigga, don't throw no shade. I left the season to come back with a reason. I ain't say it was easy. I do them beans and my bro so loud can't see me. I could've left him bleeding. Whipped out a burger and bacon, took out 50, that's her own. Hold on, slap business, let me check the inches, fit that cone. Just for all the youngins, they been on them. This Rex City, stack on top of stack, and they gon' stone. I don't think these niggas want no smoke. We be already, I can't put no hope for my bro, because they all sneaking, all tweaking late night when we get.
Good afternoon, because I'm past. Welcome to my channel, Live Stock Market Report. This is Black Business Wall Street. It's Mad Dog Maddox, but I think I changed that, so it's Live Stock Market Research. Yesterday I had a lot going on, so I just wanted to jump in today before the market closed and talk to you all about what's going on in the market, and also I may just touch about what's going on here in Minnesota, since I live here, in Minnesota. So this is important to a lot of people here. So right now what we're going to look at is my account. I had put some right now you can see basically I'm up. Yesterday I was up $99 when the market closed. This morning I didn't have too much money allocated to my account, so I'm not going to probably purchase too much or trade too much. I didn't trade anything yesterday. Let's see. I have $95 in my first account to trade and $72. I purchased some more Macy's early this morning. I was asleep, so I sold some, and I mean, instead of purchasing it, I sold it, so I went back and bought like 5 fucking shares. I hope I didn't get a W. So let's just take a look at this. Where is Macy's? Yeah, so I went in and bought 8 shares of Macy's. Thank y'all, I didn't get a W. But for the past, has been soaring since Macy's is opening. So yesterday I had a good day. Again, I closed, I want to say, at $99, almost $100 yesterday. I think Honeywell had took off yesterday. DPST took off yesterday. Neighbors took off yesterday and is taking off today as well. Neighbors is at $6, almost $7. So I purchased Neighbors at 25, 3 shares of Neighbors, and you see Neighbors, I think Neighbors deals with Aerosmith. Smile Direct is finally taking off. I'm not for sure it's because the malls are opening and whatever, but it's taking off. SDGR is a new IPO, as y'all know. For the past few days, this has not been doing its best, but okay. SNDL is a cannabis stock, so I purchased this stock at 91 cents, so it just have a steady growth. I mean, a slow growth. I have Spirit Airlines, BVI, I forgot what this was, but I researched it yesterday. BJ Wholesale, this is like Costco's and Sam's Club. It's up, and I'm up 15%. I only had this, like, I purchased this last week. CBDS, this is a cannabis stock. I just purchased this. CRBP is another cannabis stock. DKNG, as y'all know, I caught this at day 1, so I made a 59% profit on this one, and I have 4 shares. I may go back in and buy like some more shares of DKNG, but I may just wait till it falls, go on sale to me. I have the DKNG ETF as well. ESTE, I bought this last week. I'm not for sure what this is. HIBL, I encourage everyone to purchase this. This is the ETF. This ETF, basically, if you see it's down $4, it makes this type of money.
chances I'm taking.
Yesterday, I think this was up what?
Traveling world, cutting up faces, jump in my car, roll up and face it. No, I
Shit,
don't call,
10 or 11 bucks yesterday. So, you know,
girl, I'm a star, look in amazement.
but I'm up 31% total profit on this. JP Morgan, I'm up 11%. JP Morgan hit $100 yesterday. So did HIBL. Macy's is, to me, is still up. I purchased Macy's at $5, but I went back in today and purchased 5 more shares. So it gave it to me and changed my price to $6.87. You all know, I told you, I don't know why I have NVMI. I just got 1 share of it, but it's okay. ONEM, One Life Healthcare, is finally up today. It has been in the red for the past 3 days. TLRY is a cannabis stock, so this is up. I'm at a 45% growth on this, and I purchased Bits and Aurora at the same time, so I kept this one. TNK, I purchased this last week. Uber is down 11 cents, but if you look for the total gain, dollars in profit, I'm like 12 cents from being $400. So what I started doing, let's go back to the Fidelity Active Trade Pro here. Oh, wrong one. Alright, so you all know I watch the filters here on this side. So when I watch the filters, I'm looking at to see what's going on here. So ABIO was up like $11, so it dropped down to 11. But I also, let's just take a look at ABIO right quick. This is a stock that I may invest in. It's a small, it says micro cap, but $6 million. A rapper can walk on the stock floor, and Lil Wayne can walk on the stock market and buy this whole company for $6.30 million. Yeah, I mean, if you got what's his name say, he dropped $6 million in the stock market, he could have bought this whole goddamn pharmaceutical company for $6 million. So let's just take a look at this history of ABIO, which is Arca Biopharma Inc. Let's just look at the max history of this. So I went back to 1989. In 1989, do y'all see that this stock was over $500,000? I'm just saying, this stock was over $500,000. I don't know what happened. This stock rose to a fucking $1 million in 2000. So 10 years ago, ABIO was worth $1 million. I don't know what happened, but as you know, every fucking 10 years, the stock market drops. You gotta know the history of this market, of this tank, and how it works. So in 2010, this stock had reached $4 million. Oh, shit. Let me take y'all on my level. So I'm sorry, I left y'all over here. Let me go get y'all.
I need something to
Okay.
make me feel good.
All right. So here we go. Let's go back. I'm sorry. I thought I was showing y'all this information. Here we are. Let's go back. I did the full max on this, so I went back to 1998. And as you see on 1998, this was 600. This was over $500,000 here at this point. So let's go to 2000 and where's March? March of 2020. This stock was $4 million. So it dropped from 4 million down to 1 million. So they lost $3 million, but you still was a fucking millionaire. That's all I can say. So as the years go down, say in 2010, this motherfucking stock was $2 million in 2010. I mean, 2020, this 20 years ago. So let's go 10 years ago. 10 years ago, this stock was still $2 million. Do you understand me? $2 million in 2010. So let's go on down. In 2011, it dropped to $830,000. It shot back up to $1 million in November of 2011. And as you see, it just had over the years, I mean, shit, there's still good money. 130K right here in 2016. And then in 2016, it dropped to 78K. 2018 is 22K. 2019 is $5,000. 2020, it dropped to $5 fucking. I don't know about you all, but shit like this. And then if you look at the EPS growth, it's in the green. And then you look at the earning shares, they beat it. 2019, 2020, they beat it by $1.21. Here's their competitors. You have Pfizer, you have Innova. If I'm not pronouncing it right, don't get on me about that shit. Amgene Inc. and Bristol Myers. So let's just take a look at this company profile. So it operates in biopharmaceutical companies applying a precision medicine approach to developing and commercializing genetically targeted therapies for cardiovascular disease. So on this, basically these people got a contract. Let's go to the news on this company. These people got a contract to do the COVID-19 treatment, announces development for treatment of COVID-19. So this is why I think at some point this stock, so I'm just going to buy some of these shares, and it's up 200% today. It may just drop tomorrow. That's fine with me, but I can look at this as a long-term investment for me after just looking at the history. So basically, what you all can say, I'm investing in this stock because of the history of it. You understand what I'm saying? I feel like there's only two elements that you're going to invest in stock: either the history of the stock or the current thing, or what's current with this stock now. But I like looking at the history of the stock. The history of the stock tells you a lot. It's just like the history of a person, your social security number, when somebody run it, it tells them a lot about your identity, and it tells you a lot about this company profile. So, I mean,
I ran up that money so motherfucking high. Hey, I swear to God, I can stop rapping now. Nigga, I wouldn't give a fuck about what you think, bitch. I can't take the clean route on G, though they talk about rich. Nigga, I can hit home. Fresh up out of cell block and fill up a arena. I'm turned up, you try and get your face blown. I'm smoking on those, I pull a rolling on some ignorant shit.
But you know what? I think I just jumped in here sporadically. I probably should have set a limit loss for this one. Let's go and look at this. It sold it to me at $13.48. Now I love that shit right there. And it says that the highest point that this ever been within the 52 weeks for a year is $14.14, and it actually dropped to $2. So basically, if these people just make their money back because they got this contract, and I feel like instead of investing in Mirena, because Mirena feels that it has the cure, I feel like why not invest in this? And this been around shit since 1998. You know what I'm saying? So this has longevity to me, and I'm just gonna invest in this.
Why you acting slow? Nigga, fuck it, let your palm blow. Hey, why you been on some stiff shit with everybody? Nigga,
I don't know.
Hey, why you feel like all these hoes ain't shit?
Nigga, I don't know. I'm up to $400, y'all. I don't know. Nigga, I don't know.
Say that you want smoke, then let your chrome blow. But stop all that hating, just come say something with your own phone. Jumping in that Maybach in my styrofoam. Red, I'm full of pills in my billion. Who that is, yo?
I gotta dance on this shit, y'all. Y'all don't understand.
This shit I'm blessed for. This shit around my wrist, so get your papa, get your step
So let's go back to my watch list. Let's just see what's going on my watch list, because I know there's some stuff I'm watching over here. So let's just see what's going on here for a minute.
Fresh up out of cell block and fill up a arena. I'm turned up, you try and get your face blown.
I'm really thinking about investing in I've been seeing CARA for a while on my little filters list, so that's why I'm saying I wouldn't mind investing in CARA.
There's no emotion on my face, cause I'm not. You see me everywhere you look, no, you can't hide or run. Yeah, everything I said, messing with your head, messing with your head. I said everything I said, messing with your head, messing with your head, oh, messing with your head. I've been texting her all.
I don't see nothing here that interests me. So let's go to the filters. Let's go here. Let me do this diagram for AB, because y'all know I love doing my damn graphs and shit, so I can project where this may end up for today. And if you look, the algorithm on here is like, this shit is moving. Like, and what I mean by the algorithm, let me show you. I may not be pronouncing it right, so don't judge my southern. NG is not moving consistently as ABIO. So it's just letting you know that ABIO is like on, let's go here. It should be on the volume movers.
Gotta be the odds, I'm trying to blend in. Hit that boy so many times, he may sin it.
Ain't made it over here yet.
Pull up in a whole school of 50 in the rear end. Big dog. Taking chances, getting pats and trying to get them back. I watch the law take my bro, I'm trying to get them back.
Okay, but let me draw my graph. I just wanted to show y'all.
What's the chances that you run you up a couple mil? And you really come from sleeping out of. I got it the worst. I ain't had to rehearse this. Baby, who I am, I'm getting bands, I'm breaking curses. Trust about do 6 figures, still got sheets for curtains. Excuse me, I go off, have flashbacks in my verses. I'm telling you, I done put my heart inside.
I thought about investing it in WLLC as well. It's up $4. It was $24.
Always talking about what I'm gonna do, but I don't never do it. Yeah, beefing with myself, keep on a server, knowing it don't help. It's like I got money to please everybody else. They act like they with you, but I'm knowing they don't care. They ain't it for sale. I got it for sale if it's rolling.
Alright, so let me do my damn graph. Had a, let's say, that's a 40% growth here. Yeah, I'm just trying to see the percentage. So I say a 50%, not even a percent decline. Then you go here, let's do the decline.
These pieces I got lit on me, this piece I got gon' hit on me. I ain't never did no fraud, but I'm known for pulling cars. I said about me in my neighborhood, I'm known for going hard. I've been busting on that glizzy ever since I had got robbed. I didn't really be. What's the chances that you run you up a couple mil? And you really come from sleeping out of projects? What's the chances that you run you up a couple mil? And you're too man, catch your body. What's the chances that you run you up a couple mil? And you really come from sleeping out of projects? What's the chances that you run you up a couple mil? And you're too man, catch your body. I gotta do worse.
They don't never have a 7%, Angela. Take it back. Well, yes, they did. They did have like an 8% decline, so I don't think it's going to be 7%.
Go flex on a bitch, go stunt on a bitch. I'm sorry, I'm having my way. You ain't even with my team, you ain't with my gang, little nigga. Get the fuck on my face. I bought a Glock in the party, I shoot at the ops, they dancing like B2K. Nigga want smoke, I'm like, okay, we gon' take his ass out in broad day. I'ma go flex on a bitch, go stunt on a bitch. I'm sorry, I'm having my way. You ain't even with my team, you ain't with my gang, little nigga. Get the fuck on my face. I bought a Glock in the party, I shoot at the ops, they dancing like B2K. Nigga want smoke, I'm like, okay, we gon' take his ass out in broad day. It's more money out here to be made. Oh, none of these bitches get saved. I take this drip to my grave, bro. Dash on these bitches, I'm great. She on my neck like a groupie hoe. Had her before I was paid. These niggas lame, had to catch the boat. Tryna keep up with my weight. I keep them racks on my nightstand. I don't put my trust in no one. I had to go with the right plan and separate me from the fake ones. I'm popping off like a handgun. Cops asking questions, we don't say none. Designer on my fucking body, shawty, while your boyfriend dressing like a pilgrim. To be honest, I don't feel him. I live what I rap, that's in real life. The shorty got hit with the real pipe. Now she don't want you, it don't feel right. I'm thanking God cause I'm double blessed. I'm in the sky somewhere out of sight. True stone and high every night. Living this how you gotta pay the price. I'ma go flex on a bitch, go stunt on a bitch. I'm sorry, I'm having my way. You ain't even with my team, you ain't with my gang, little nigga. Get the fuck on my face. I bought a Glock in the party, I shoot at the ops.
I think this WLFC is gonna close at 23.50. I'm just saying, I think it's gonna close around within this frame from $23 to $24. Let's just say that.
I bought a Glock in the party, I shoot at the ops, they dance like B2K. Nigga want smoke, I'm like, okay, we gon' pull a ticket's ass out in broad day.
So I haven't purchased that yet. Another one I'm looking at is GAN over here. Let's see what HX is.
I'ma do whatever, gotta feed my team. I married my bitch, got a boogie at the ring. Apparently, the clarity, Chicago streets to Beverly, all white ones like KKK. Sky's going broke, ain't no way. Let a bitch come try to steal my chain, spit on her face.
I'ma go flex on a bitch, go stunt on a bitch. I'm sorry, I'm having my way. You ain't even with my team, you ain't with my gang.
Like this fucking grab.
I bought a Glock in the party, I shoot at the ops, they dancing like
B2K.
Nigga want smoke, I'm like,
let's go back to the
I'ma go
filters.
flex on a bitch, go stunt on a bitch. I'm sorry, I'm having my way. You ain't even with my team, you ain't with my gang, little nigga, get the fuck on my face. I bought a Glock in the party, I shoot at the ops, they dancing like B2K. Nigga want smoke, I'm like, okay, we gon' pull a ticket's ass out in broad day.
You get me, Doyle? They know who I am. I ain't had no choice, I jumped off the post, the one right. Keep that red flag, took that 30 pole, plus he right. I ain't never know that they wasn't this tight, but he know me. He say, fuck these hoes, niggas down sight, they get rolled down. He say, get that money, spend that money, stack that shit up, yeah. Chicken bad, big, that's 400 grand, Rick. I won't talk, I pull up looking where that check at. I told them, bitch, they didn't catch out on a wrist, yeah. I pull up icy from my fucking head to T. I don't speak, you see murder when I blink. I'm in that rose with that gang out on the street. These pussy ain't gon' sing, they try taking some from me. I done ran a check up, I could promise I won't hurt no more. Straight out there, know that's on my bro, I never trust no hoe. Before I run, I stop, I bought, I aim and blow the pole. I'ma catch my cut before I freeze, they'll never say I fold. Who broke the code? I ain't had no choice, I jumped off the post, the one right. Keep that red flag, took that 30 pole, plus he right. I ain't never know that they wasn't this tight, but he know me. He say, fuck these hoes, niggas down sight, they get rolled down. He say, get that money, spend that money, stack that shit up, yeah. Chicken bad, big, that's 400 grand, Rick. I won't talk, I pull up looking where that check at. I told them, bitch, they didn't catch out on a wrist, yeah. Want that McLaren, but my taxes ain't been paid. Okay,
you can even see the daily range on this shit. This is what I'm talking about, y'all. I didn't know all this shit.
Young nigga turn so much they can't gave me a raise. Go check my bank account, don't give a fuck who lit. Any problem, get it fixed, worry about no nigga or no bitch. Better nigga, I can show them how to move a brick. They know we be with the shit. XVL, I'm gon' get them hit. They sit on shit inside the seat. I ain't had no choice, I jumped off the post, the one right. Keep that red flag, took that 30 pole, plus he right. I ain't never know that they wasn't this tight, but he know me. He say, fuck these hoes, niggas down sight, they get rolled down. He say, get that money, spend that money, stack that shit up, yeah. Chicken
Alright,
bad,
and
that's 400
WK.
grand, Rick. I won't talk, I pull up looking where that check at. I told them, bitch, they didn't catch out on a wrist, yeah.
Alright, and excuse me. Okay. Alright, NWK Real Network Inc. This is information technology. What's going on with this? Why is it moving from hold to sale? That was on the 11th. Everything looks good. Provides digital media applications, play service, consumer segment, real fair, South Carolina.
You gotta, be saying, you gotta just enjoy life. You know what I'm saying? You gotta stay off my phone. You know what I'm saying? You gotta in touch with reality. You know what I'm saying? Live. I've been living lately. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's for real.
Let's look into this new
I've been chasing my dream and ducking my grave. Ask me how it feel to be chosen. Yeah, you never know if you're coming or going. I've been roaming. I've been roaming. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. When you're living.
How do they feel this finna take
For not
off
keeping
though?
your pool, better get low. Whenever that heater explode, not playing your role. Not a reaper reaching your soul. Your killer, he gone. Wail at home, bleaching his clothes, and you could. For not rapping your dick, lack it, ratchet as shit. Now you in your casket,
Some I don't understand.
your age. A grave ain't as far as it seems. Watch the fade, way back in 2013. Where I can see 30 a healthy and free man. Hope I don't die in the street or get locked in the jam. I talked to
See
Woody
what
last
else
week, say he
going
got him
on.
a plan. Pop him a Zan,
I don't know what the
die
fuck
with
going
his
on.
finest. That's why you gotta stay focused. We probably in hell already. How the masses ain't knowing. Everybody kissing ass to get to heaven
I
and
never
ain't
seen
going.
that
I'm a
before.
young nigga on the rush to get paid. I've been chasing my dream and ducking my grave. Ask me how it feel to be
Oscar Roger
chosen.
Oscar.
You never know if you're coming.
So let's look at
I've been roaming.
Organ or Genesis, Organ or Genesis Holden. This is Oscar Roger. Oscar Roger Oscar. What's so special about this? Ain't it shit that- At what point did this shoot to $300? Am I missing something here? Oh, y'all can even see this shit. Hold up. Okay, so at some point they saying it hit $300. The fucking oh, that's some bullshit, y'all. So I see this shit do this. One day, January the 8th, this shit shot to $300 in one day and then closed at $14. So if you sell that shit when it shot to three, like that's a pump and dump type shit. I wouldn't even fuck with that shit. I can't fuck with shit like this. See, I expose y'all asses on my fucking channel with this pump and dump shit. What possibly can make your shit shoot or soar from $13 to $300 and close back to $14? Pump and dump, bro. I can't fuck with y'all. Not at all. Walking, talking, none of this shit. So let's go back to the drawing board. CGI. Tango Gulf India here. Let's see what we got. Triumph. I think I got this on my damn watch list, but we gonna see. I've been watching this one. Let's go. See, I gotta say the army stuff so I can actually remember what I said it was. Who is it? Tango? Roger? I know it's Tango. Tango Gulf India. Tango Gulf India.
Okay, let's go, nigga.
Now see, this the type of sock I look for right here. This is a perfect graph, and it's in industrials. So this has to do something. I got an IPO in industrials. I need to go check my RKQ to make sure that I don't, like, one thing with my ETF, if I purchase an ETF, and I need to make sure that TGI is not in that basket before I go purchasing. So let me show you what I'm talking about. ARKQ here. Let's research this. Tesla heavy. See, y'all see it says Tesla rides on its coattails here. So I just have a short delay, so I just don't want to be talking and leaving you all in like a 30-second delay for some reason. Oh, I cannot relate to this child. What is he talking about? And it made me go to Young Dolph. I can't relate to it. Okay, so it's ARKQ, ARC. This is ARC technology. Well, ARC is robotics technology or whatever. So, let's just look at it at how it's performing. phenomenal.
I'm still on that same shit.
Let's go here. Let's look at the history of this. Dropped in 2015 at 20, so you can see it just had a steady incline, not a decline, but an incline. Look at this incline. 94% an incline. 2008. Dropped 5%. 10%.
How I feel they never know. Niggas trying to take my life, keep a pole. All these drugs don't make it right, no. Testifying, we gon' sling that iron at the other side. We blow them bitches back to back, hey, what you on? Quick to pick up when that murder call my phone. Yeah. Give me a rush, I'm trying to bust that nigga down. Grew from ambition, my pocket filled with them bitches. I'm riding around with that glizzy pussy, come on.
Yeah, this gonna soar. I probably could see this ARKQ hitting over $100. But let's see what's in his basket. That's what we came here for. I got so distracted. I'm looking for Tango Gulf, India.
She know that I put this dick on her, including her girl. But how you feeling? I've been still dealing with my pain. Still sending money to these dogs, frame out them chains. Ain't be around them, but I'm still thinking with my mind.
So it's not in here. It's not in the basket, so I purchased it. And you see, this ETF invests in information technology, industrials, consumer discretionary, communication services, and healthcare. Yeah, that man touched people through his songs.
Got a lot of new flames in the nigga in blue. 350,000 times that about two. New down no roof, I still see the skies. These are my grandma, I still see my guys. Turned this back, must felt let down. Heard the down 700, what you gon' bet now? Yeah, used to be a tour, bitch, a vet now. Luke, get up, dog, I need you. Only nigga made sure that I was eating. Free nails, still nigga, RP Reese. Get her nails done, still charge for the feature. Baby, we ain't that, no, we ain't this. All that fuck, I don't do no kiss. Bitch ain't shit words of mine, niggas all in my mentions. Bitch really wanna get hired. To the little hoes, I'm Bryce. I done hit more shit than Mike Tyson. Get poppin', nigga, I ain't doing no fight. Sending my cash, I ain't doing no right.
So right now what I'm doing is drawing a graph. Like before I purchase this, I want to draw my graph out because I might have to do limit stop on this order. So I want to make sure. So let me just.
I got designing for days, but it's something about him go crazy for white Air Force One. Maybe because I'm a dope boy. He be loud, but he ain't making no noise. Fence the door on the ground like a skateboarder. If I want her, I get her, I pay for her. I pay extra, I ain't trying to wait for her. Everything that I got, it was made for me. I was serving them trap house fade for me. Everybody with me gotta eat. Say you crazy for me. Thou should not try one of us. If they do, I'm a bust. Please don't reach for no chain. Not about to say, but it's more about respect. If they give me upset, they gon' die, that's on game. Ran on my check when I walk in the bank. They greet me at the door by my government name. I made a promise I'm never gon' change. Rolls Royce umbrella, I'm hoping it rain. Yeah. Right back on it, designing my garments, corner store morning, stand to the sundown. I don't trust no one, I can't put my gun down. Going #1 now, how this out, hands down, bands out, pants down. Yeah, I'm thugging. I done got rich, everybody my cousin. You ain't serve no pass with me, you ain't my brother. That chopper go through shit, I call it a cutter. I just bought a new whip, I went bought another. My mother, she happy now, ain't no cap and gown. But I graduated, her house paid for, and that new Mercedes. Know you see that they been trying to beat me lately. I'm a heavy hitter like Javante Davis. That shit ain't gon' save him, leave him on the pavement. All I know is get this motherfucker fucking paper. Thou should not try one of us. If they do,
I'm gonna put it in
no
at
risk, no change.
1050.
Not about to say, but it's more about
So
respect. If they give me upset, they gon'
let's
die this on
buy
game. Right on my
limit.
check when I walk in the bank, they bring me at the door by my government name. I made a promise I'm never gonna change. Rolls Royce umbrella, I'm hoping it rain.
Bitches ain't shit, dog. I'm on.
Let's do 3 shares.
Twice had me in my feelings. 3
Limit
months,
order.
$500,000. Nigga fuck a house, I done must build. Fuck niggas, so see when
I can do. I would do 1050. I was gonna do $10, but we can do 1050. Let's go back. Hold up. Let me look at the graph. Do I think it's gonna drop to 10? I got it projected drop to 10. I think it's gonna drop to 10. I don't know. Don't have me lying to y'all.
If they do, I'm a bust, please don't reach for no chain. Not about to say, but it's more about respect. If they give me upset, they gon' die this on game. Ran on my check when I walk in the bank.
Right now it's 1 o'clock.
My government name. I made a promise I'm never gonna change. Rolls Royce umbrella, I'm hoping it rain.
But I'm just gonna do it. Well, it's 2 o'clock there. I mean, so let me go back here. So technically we got 2 hours before the market closes. And let me see, let's just refresh this where we at. See 1065, 2 shares, 1062.
Don't put no battery in my back, nigga. I got a whole nother focus, nigga. 2020 Pyrex vision, nigga. I can see it, nigga. You see it? You see it, nigga? Let's go. Let's start with a prayer for the sucker.
I'm gonna buy it on the market because I see it's going what I was watching.
Fuck niggas come with bad vibes, dog. Bitch made, that's why I gotta slide, dog. 9/11 faster than a cheetah, nigga. Brand new Hanes white beater,
Hey,
nigga.
this some bullshit.
In the fridge next to the mustard, nigga.
What's really going on around here? Macy's? I ain't worried about you.
Fuck a car, I'm tryna buy a bank, nigga.
ABIO, I'm getting $4 here. DJ.
I can give a fuck about what they think, nigga. I just do it 'cause they say I can't, nigga. Pussy so wet, call her Aruba, nigga.
I'm wondering, should I sell? I'm finna sell this shit because I'm gonna keep my little 20% profit. Like, I really don't understand left measurement price target to 50 from 44. Keep buying breaks. Like, every time I decide to, like, fucking sell this shit, I just keep hearing good news about it. I don't fucking know, y'all, but I'm up 20%, and I done had NVMI for a long ass time. Shit, I can't even afford a share now. But I guess I ain't gonna buy it today. So they just, so for some reason, NVMI, like, about 1 share, like, and every time I get ready to sell it, it's like my spirit just like, fuck that, you can't sell this. Like, I'm serious. I don't know if y'all listen to me from day one. I said I don't know why I'm holding this. I just haven't showed it yet.
Tonight is on me, so what you drink, nigga? I can give a fuck about what they think, nigga. I just do it 'cause they say I can't, nigga.
So they sold TGI to me at 1068. Let's go back to Fidelity Active Pro. Oh shit, it's down 1063. So I'm not even finna refresh the shit, frankly, to be honest with y'all, because I don't even want to see it. But 1061. So it's my damn projections right over here, and I'm not even listening to my fucking self. We gon' see y'all. So I'm just saying.
Weezy out of here.
Just because I don't listen to myself, I mean, y'all don't have to. That mean I'm going against the facts and shit. Crazy.
Okay, me we was a hoe from Argentina and California. We was in the Bentley beef on up the street playing when I saw ya. Thought about give her a beat, now they fall in love beach, tryna see we going. Smoking shit loud and noise.
I don't know who that is.
Do my thing, yeah. I gotta do my thing.
I'm just saying, if y'all can come in here with like 10 grand, let me take you back to my desk, my portfolio. If y'all can come in here with at least $10,000, I would suggest y'all buy shares of ARKQ, like more than 2 fucking shares. I can't tell y'all what to do. I'm not a financial advisor. I would advise y'all buy Honeywell, Neighbors, NDR, November Bravo Roger, Neighbors Industries is up $7. If you got the bank, I would advise you buy a lot of shares of NDR. But my stuff consists of a lot of new IPOs. So, like, I would advise y'all to get DraftKings. This is a new IPO, but you can tell I got both of them. The ETFs, I bought DraftKings, the regular IPO or the regular stock now when it actually dropped at $19. So you see it's up 56%. I bought 3 shares of the ETF at $16 and I'm up 62% with the ETF. So I would suggest, like, if you can, I would buy like 100 shares of each if you can afford that. You know what I'm saying? HIBL, I would suggest you all buy this because Hotel India Bravo Lima HIBL. This is a fairly new IPO that dropped in November of last year, and it dropped at $300. And this was actually affected by COVID-19. But I mean, I had to look in the basket. But if you go back in some of my videos, I went over HIBL. But I don't want my channel to be very repetitive. But for the new viewers, like, there's other videos out there that I just go into HIBL like more in depth detail to understand why this is a great investment for you. JP Morgan Chase is actually, I think, in the basket of HIBL, so that's why I only copped one JP Morgan Chase, because I purchased HIBL before I purchased JP Morgan Chase, and then when I see in this basket, I was like, there's no need of me purchasing more shares of JP Morgan Chase, so I just have this one share right here. Macy's I purchased. I think I'm gonna keep Macy's for a long-term investment, but I'm gonna try to at least purchase like 20 to 50 shares of Macy's. I'm gonna try to purchase 20 or 50 shares of TLR. Like, these are my long-term investments that I'm speaking in reference to, that I probably just keep around for a while. I'm not for sure about Uber, unless Uber feel like it's gonna do some futuristics with its cars and drivers and shit. So that's what I'm saying. Brink, I might keep Brink around because shit, Brink, like, every company need Brink, and Brink actually dropped. I don't even want to say Brink really dropped. They dropped like $70, and I've seen companies drop like $300-$400. So Brink actually, he was in a fucking world disaster. Like, if we have to close, because money always have to be transported.
Special order gon' cost you a quarter, and this a fee to stand beside me. God forbid if somebody try me, I'm turning this shit to a crime scene. Grab your cig and put up the kids, the minute Draco in the arms ring. And then no jumping or switching no side when I let it sing, the bell ring. Please don't judge me just cause on my cover, cause you never seen what I sing.
Yeah, this stock market is iffy today. It's like, ooh, I done dropped before y'all. So I was at $400, and I done dropped. So I'm eating my bottom line over here. I just bought CRVP and it's eating my bottom line, but I really don't want to sell it because it's only $1.80. So this is $2 from my bottom line right there. This is another $1 from my bottom line. That's $3.
It's a handout 50. I stack it up, double up, spend it. When the rest too skinny, I can make some squeeze a million. When the rest too skinny, I can make some squeeze a million. When the rest too skinny, I can make some squeeze a million. When the rest rest too skinny, I can make some squeeze a million. When the rest too skinny, I can make some squeeze a million. Dropped out of school, kick down the door, bust it down, now we full. Come out the denim, the patches below. I send them, they spin them, don't go back and forth. I got that stick, that bitch, take down a horse. Basketball season, the rip like a court.
Let's look at some news today. Let's see what's going on in the news.
Just look at the bitch and I know I'm a score. 200 cash with a mag in my drawer. I'm pulling string like I played a guitar. Dracos and Max, we ready for war. We petty, we spend every day with them cut up machete. I spend a little letters, he sent to the medics. My money come steady. Somebody die, only way I can get it. I heard your money was shedded.
This say the 10 best ETFs for valued investors. These valued ETFs are the best ways we found to grab entire baskets of undervalued stock. I guess this is what I told you I'm not financial, so I wouldn't know how to like paraphrase their wording or saying. I just know what I see, and I'm gonna tell you how I see it. But then when I go back and find the facts to back up what the fuck I said, yeah, I better listen. Tell you now. I don't know what none of these ETFs are. So here's plenty of opportunities for us to like figure out the investment. Would this be a great investment for you? You can take the time to read about it. I'm not for sure.
You already know. Hit me. Yeah. Two-seater run with your bitch. Butterfly goes on the bench. Running through bands, I'm rich. Everything president tense. I'm on ocean with a bad hoe. Top down, she got fluid out on the backseat with a stendo. Smoking Indo, my jewels out. Two-seater.
So they said DLN is the Wisdom Tree US large cap dividends ETF is among the best valued ETF of the list, returning around 10% annually over the past 10 years. Okay. I ain't been in the game that long, bro. Then you have this one right here, which is IWX. It's at $50. Security $59.
She just left my hotel. Did a clean walk of shame down the hallway. Money with the squad, get money with the squad.
So this India Whiskey X-Ray IWX holds Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett, and Johnson & Johnson JE&J. Their basket's probably the largest money makers in their basket. I'm not a Warren Buffett like junkie or fanatic or fan or whatever. I mean, shit, I don't even really listen to him. I found this other guy I listen to, and you know, what's his name? Roger somebody, but he worked for Fidelity for many years, and I figured out. I don't want to talk about him right now because I ain't got all the facts, so I don't want to make shit up around here. So then we got the VTV, which is Vanguard ETF here. I know I ain't investing in it. So, did I miss something? Oh, Schwab's U.S. large cap ETF. So this one is at $51. The maturity is $61. We can see what's in their basket is among the cheapest funds with the expense. Y'all can pick these ratios out yourself. Like, I just showed y'all some ETFs that I already have a 50% increase, and it's not even an annually. I mean, shit, I ain't even had it a week, and I got a 50% increase, and they talking about an annual return on my money for, nah, bro. I don't, listen, I guess I'm an aggressive trader because for 0.2 return on my money or 8, what the fuck? I'm not in that business, bro. That's slow growth. I'm like these folks. I ain't with that. I can't do that. Y'all can tell I'm not interested in this shit. I'm just showing y'all because it's out here. These folks really lost my interest on this. I thought this was some good news right here. Might be good news for you all. And see, some of you all may be interested in this, so we'll see. Let's just take a moment and to listen to what he got to say. He might have something.
Stocks on Wall Street fought back from a deficit. Right now, the S&P 500 trading just higher on Friday. Our market guest today says it's time to consider investing in value stocks. Yes, value, not growth. Ken Kamen is president of Mercadian Asset Management, and he joins me from his home in Yardley, Pennsylvania. Well, Ken, before we get to value, let's talk about today's markets. Had a lot of data, a big record drop in retail sales, a sharp drop in industrial production, some data from China, and then from some words from the president, or at least the administration on China. So tell me, what's the push me pull you, the yin yang today? Well, we started lower and now we're above the break-even line.
Well, we started low on fears that maybe the China trade war is going to back up again. But I think that it's the kind of rhetoric we're going to hear a lot more of as the election season continues on. So I think it's very important for people to recognize that a lot of the coverage of the China-United States dynamic is going to be viewed through that lens, and try not to let that get in the way of your investing mentality. But the other thing of the day was the retail sales, and that was obviously world-class negative. But what's interesting is the knee-jerk reaction was the market was down, and then it seems like everyone realized throughout the day that, oh, wait a minute, we knew that was going to be the case. There's nothing unexpected there. And let's start parsing what parts of the economy may or may not benefit or get hurt. And I think you're starting to see the market kind of rationalize that a lot more.
And Ken, it looks like investors have been sort of poo-pooing bad economic data, as you say, because, hey, we expect it. But with U.S.-China trade tensions coming back, does that change the narrative at all of this bounce back that we've had since late March?
No, I don't actually. I think that, we certainly got oversold on emotion. And now as rational thought starts coming in, we start looking at things like, well, maybe we will get a therapeutic, and they're saying we might get a vaccine as early as the winter. So there are other factors that are leading to thinking that could be worthwhile. The other interesting thing of the flip side of the China problem or dynamic is that I think we're going to start moving our economy from a just-in-time inventory economy to a just-in-case inventory economy, meaning that we're going to start repatriating a lot of our own manufacturing and building up our own supply chains here. And I think that speaks very, very well for our country, and certainly will speak very well for the markets going forward. But I do think we still have that period to get through between now and the winter.
Ken, you mentioned manufacturing stocks or industrial stocks. That brings to mind the old classic debate between growth and value. And growth has been outperforming value for so long and still driving the markets. But you think it's time for value stocks. Why so?
Well, first of all, you have to look at the fact that since the beginning of the year to date, the S&P 500 is is down less than half of what the Russell 1000 value is down. So, as people are looking for what are those growth stocks, or even the Netflix, what are the stay-at-home stocks, they're all technology stories. But things like energy got crushed, the banks got crushed, a lot of the healthcare got crushed. These are companies not only with the strongest balance sheets, but they're companies that are the most likely to benefit from all this money sloshing around the economy now when we start looking at spending on infrastructure, when we start doing, as I said before, onshoring some of our own supply chains. And I think that they are so oversold now relative to where other things are. I won't say they're oversold relative to where the economy is at the moment, but you have to look at things when they're out of favor. And I think there's more disappointment ahead potentially for growth as that levels out, and more optimism for value as people start running that equation in their mind.
What sectors within value would you say are worth picking up right now that are promising? I mean, there are some parts that are really slammed and may not come back, but what parts do you like?
Well, you look at the financials. I mean, they certainly have been slammed, and everyone's worried that every office building in America is going to empty out because we could all do this Zoom stuff at home. And that, what is that going to mean for banks and mortgages and all? But banks had tremendous balance sheets coming into this. So I'm not saying they won't be affected, but the government certainly has said they're backstopping everything, and it's kind of a blank check as it relates to that. So I'd be looking for bargain hunting. And I'm not saying get in today. I'm saying you need to get away from this casino mentality of whether we're staying at home, whether we're going out, what's the next drug that's going to work, and look at position your portfolio for where we're going to be in the winter and the spring. And I think you're going to see it in there, and maybe some of the big healthcare stocks, even some of the energy stocks as we all start getting back to driving.
All right, but bank stocks, despite low yields, and and it looks like the Fed expects to keep rates low for a while.
I totally understand that, but the thing you have to realize is that all this economic activity, the banks are going to be in the middle of that. And I'm not saying they're going to be this explosive grower, but even if they come back, 30, 40, 50% from where they are, I think that represents very good value and a good upside return, especially in a market where you're looking where fixed income, as you point out, pays nothing. What are you going to do? Take your money and put it in the mattress to earn nothing? And then if interest rate, while you're getting 1%. So I think you have to look for the better balance sheets and ride out the storm.
Got it. Okay. Thanks a lot, Ken. Appreciate it. Our thanks, Fred Katayama. This is Reuters, and have a wonderful weekend.
This is what I've been saying. Like he basically stated why I'm investing. Like it's self-explanatory. It's no other option but to invest in yourself right now. And like he say, it's like a casino at this moment. These people using this stock market as a fucking casino, and you better jump in. Like sometimes it take risks to make money, and you need to make this investment for yourself and take the risk upon. Listen, scared money don't make no damn money. Anybody can tell you scared money do not make money. You cannot be scared to invest in yourself. Everything about your life is an investment. Check game. If you go to the gas store, guess what? You investing in these other companies. If you go to the grocery store, guess what? You investing in every company that from the macaroni and cheese that you buy, from the soup that you buy, from the sodas that you buy. Everything that you purchase as a consumer goes back to this stock market, just like Macy's. I went and dropped so much money in Macy's, I came back and bought their damn stock. At the end of the day, I'm going to get all my money back because that's a return on my investment, as I told you all about self-interest. This market is more so, or how you should look at this market is self-interest. What's in the best interest of me? Because this is what these companies looking for. And if it's not for us, the consumers, not for us, the individuals, the constituents, these fucking companies will be annihilated. Look at JCPenney's. No one is fucking with JCPenney's. JCPenney's. Look at Hertz. All these companies right now is tanking because of what's just happening in the economy closure. So that should let you know if these companies got to go out of business, and this country wasn't even closed for 90 days, and they don't have enough books on their, or enough money on their books or their bottom line to withstand a 90-day thing, something is wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this was a unforeseen issue, and due to the fact that it was an unforeseen issue, this stock market has to go back to being a bull. It just fell to a bear because the government made it a bear because of the situation. So it was a cause and effect scenario that done this. And telling you all, like he just explained it, I guess, such in a more financial advisor type of way for a person to invest in themselves than me just explaining to you, like, I want to say street way or professional way, however you look at me. That's just up to you. I can care too less. But small business loans, let's see what this is talking about. Small business loans, term ease under U.S. House passed bill. Approves. Y'all, this was 17 minutes ago. So I'm not for sure, and they saying they're giving the green light. The Republicans then passed the bill. Legislative passed the vote by 14. Now goes to the Senate. Okay, created in March. So what's going on? Meanwhile, okay, I thought there was something new right here. I thought they were saying Senate passed it. You gotta read it. Like this should have made the stock market crash too. And then see, I'm finna have to watch the news to see what Donald Trump over here talking about, because ain't no telling what he got going on.
We were pretty early movers in terms of some of the decisions we made.
This is Mike
Overarching, since
Corbett
then,
from
it's
City
all been about the
Group
health and
CEO
safety of our
talking.
people, in terms of making sure that we could do everything within our power to ensure that. And so again, as we start to think about returning people to the office, it's going to be driven by data, as I said. It's likely to be slow. It's likely to be granular. So it will be
This
site by
saying
site.
U.S.
In
Senator
fact,
sees
within those
U.S.
sites, it'll be
striking a
job by
trade deal
job.
with China
And
despite
again, I think the great
pandemic
news
concerns. It
is
ain't
that the
despite
investments that
pandemic
we've made
concerns.
in
They
technology
miss
along the way and the efficacy of which remote working has worked for
read
us.
between the
I think
lines
it's
right
nice to
here.
have that flexibility. And again, if you look at the things that we've done remotely, it's been truly extraordinary. In terms of lending, in
So
terms
I'm
of
gonna let this
holding
just
our
stay right here
annual
so you all can read this because
shareholders
I'm reading
meeting,
it as well.
of closing
So
our books to report earnings in 9 days, of the things that we've been able to do for our customers and clients. And by the way, the things that we've been able to do for the communities that we serve in terms of giving back.
So give me your best guess. I know it's data driven. You've been very clear about that, but give me your best guess, Mike. When will you start putting people back into your global headquarters in downtown Manhattan?
It's all about, can we bring these people in and keep them safe? And I think the protocols that we've been working on, and again, it's not simply about a desk or a turret or an office. It's about coming through the turnstile. It's about the cafeteria. It's about the elevators. It's about all of those things that are there that you've got to make sure are safe. And then the bigger challenges actually, I don't think are in phase one. I think it's as you continue to bring more people back and densify, how do you actually scale those protocols to be able to keep that safety?
Is putting traders back on the trading floor a priority?
Listen, there's been a lot of talk in terms of companies saying that people never need to or will return to work. I'm very comfortable saying at Citi that's not who we are. We are very happy to continue to imagine and reimagine as we go forward the ways we come to work. But at our core, we are a client-facing, client-driven business that in many ways is an apprenticeship business, right? And that the craft, the trade is passed down, and that human interaction is critical.
Michael Corbett, of course, the CEO of Citigroup, speaking exclusively with Bloomberg. Now, we turn to the housing market because Land and Buildings Investment Management has published a white paper making the case for why single-family homes will see big tailwinds post-COVID-19 and how millennials and even Romaine will be leaving the city and moving to the burbs. I want to welcome now from Greenwich, Connecticut, the Land and Buildings founder and CIO, Jonathan Litt, a well-known activist investor. Thank you for joining us today, Jonathan. It's good to speak with you. Before we get to your reasons for
I love
why
Minneapolis.
Romaine is going to move to the suburbs, I'd like to start with your view on the state of residential housing at the moment, because the string of economic data that we've been getting do show improvement. New home sales, existing home sales, surprising a lot of people. Yet these are often lagging indicators. You've got your eye on the ground. How much do these kinds of housing metrics reflect what is or isn't happening on the ground?
Sure. It's really been quite fascinating post the stay-at-home orders, how things have accelerated. At Land and Buildings, we buy heavily discounted real estate in the public markets. And, in mid-March, everything was on sale. And what we found was that the single-family home for rent market and the home builders were very depressed. we already knew there was a good tailwind from millennials moving out of cities and moving out of apartments. But what we didn't expect is what happened apartments and moving into single family for rent, moving into and contracting to buy new homes. Some of the most recent data suggests that single family rental rates are up 3 or 4%, while apartment rental rates are down a similar amount.
So, Jonathan, then is this more for folks looking because they want an actual house themselves, or is it that they are actually really just trying to get away from urban centers and get more towards suburbs and other areas where they feel like they have more space?
I think it's a combination of both. I think we already saw places like Manhattan and Dallas and San Francisco seeing population declines as the millennials were starting families and wanted to live in a home, in a single family home. I think that being stuck in an apartment
.730 forecast. It is Thursday. I'm Jason DeRusha. This is the 734 from WCCO. It's going to be a little different from most 734s because how could it not? We have total coverage of the riots that happened overnight and continue at this hour. Look at this live picture from one of our traffic cameras. You can see the smoke continuing to billow as many, many buildings are on fire in the area of Lake Street in Hiawatha, Minnehaha, right near the 3rd Police Precinct. That's been the center of protest and activity. We'll get to some of that in just a minute. But I want to update you on the 730 forecast today. If you are heading out, it is going to be a mild day, mostly sunny, mid-70s. Tonight will be really pleasant, too, as well. Sunny skies and 69 at 8 p.m. To our top story, our only story, really, it was a night of chaos and destruction in Minneapolis. Several buildings set on fire, stores looted and destroyed. Christian Cordero has been out reporting all morning on the destruction.
We're on Lake in Minnehaha right now, standing in the middle of a shopping center, one of several that has just been either broken into or burned to the ground. This is a Wendy's. You can see just the char, the devastation of this business that has been burned. There's even, you can see some of the kitchen equipment inside, just kind of putting things in perspective. Now, right across from me is an Aldi's. There is also a Target and a Cub Foods right across the street. All three of those businesses were broken into. There were looters that were going well into the morning, honestly, taking stuff from inside. And then there's also this apartment complex building that has been burning throughout much of the night tonight. Minneapolis Fire showed up well into the night because there were protesters that were blocking access, but really their job lately has just been to contain the fire itself and in the places where it's burning. This is just one picture of several in South Minneapolis that is now what we're waking up to 2 days after George Floyd, 3 days rather, after George Floyd died.
Christian, just difficult images to see. That was a look at the damage in the daylight. Several of those fires were burning all night. One was a large apartment building just north of AutoZone at 29th and Hiawatha and Minnehaha. Another large fire set at a building construction site at Minnehaha and Lake. The protests also turned deadly at one moment last night. Police telling us a man was shot and killed in the midst of the protests. They do have a person in custody. They tell us their theory, and this is very early in the investigation, but their theory is the man was looting a store and the shop owner shot him, a pawn shop. but that has yet to be fully investigated out. It is in the early morning hours, so we'll follow that. We did see protesters looting and vandalizing several businesses along Lake Street and into Uptown overnight. Our photojournalist Joel Thurston shot some images for us. Here you go. You see someone just running away with merchandise. This is in the Calhoun Square area, where I'm told damage is extensive in that part of town as well. The fires have been focused in South Minneapolis, but many of the stores in the Uptown, Calhoun Square, that corridor of Lake Street, also with vandalism. Police tell us fires in the overnight hours were set at AutoZone, at Cub Foods. We saw pictures of damage at High Lake Liquors. And as I mentioned, that damage in Uptown included the Apple store, where there was vandalism there. We did see people looting the Target store on Lake Street as well. People climbing in and out of windows. Look at that, taking whatever they could grab from inside the store. Target told us they closed that location earlier because they were afraid for their employees. They were trying to keep their employees safe there. We also this morning talked with CBS News correspondent Jeff Pegues. Is there anything about this one that strikes you as being different?
People have been in their homes for several weeks. You have the incident with George Floyd. You have the protesters out on the streets. You also have rising unemployment. And so I'm wondering if all of these events are converging, and you have these people out here coming into the streets and just, letting it go, frankly.
We're going to have much more on all of this today. Updates on CBSN Minnesota online and in our newscast. Obviously, many people were protesting very peacefully in the overnight hours, but this morning the focus certainly understandably turned to all of the destruction and violence, one part of our city that looks completely unrecognizable this morning. Let's give you a couple other stories to follow today. Masks are already mandatory in Minneapolis. And because of COVID-19, St. Paul now following suit. Mayor Melvin Carter announced that masks will be required inside all licensed businesses and city-controlled buildings. That rule begins Monday, the same day we see an expansion of outdoor dining in Minnesota. Some more bad news from the Labor Department this morning. Expected bad news, but nonetheless, a number of Americans, a new report saying 2.1 million have filed for unemployment benefits. That's slightly less than the 2.4 million reported the week before. Since the COVID-19 pandemic shut down much of the U.S. economy, more than 38 million Americans have filed for unemployment. That is it for now. This is the 734 from WCCO. As I mentioned, we'll have total coverage here online and also on our streaming service, CBSN Minnesota. You can download the WCCO app or get us at WCCO.com. See you back here tomorrow for the 734.
A website? I created one for our startup using Wix. Let me show you how I did it. First, go to Wix.com. Our startup is constantly evolving, and we need a website that can do the same. We use Wix Video to showcase product demos so users can learn all about our app. Let the adventures begin. With Wix Blog, we can share industry news and updates about important releases. It really helps us establish ourselves as an authority in our field. Awesome. We're looking for early adapters to beta test our next release. So, I'm sending an email marketing campaign to my contacts list. Every element is completely customizable. This really delivers. In this industry, you gotta stay ahead of the competition. Thanks to Wix professional SEO tools, we can make sure that we rank high on the search and attract new users. Wow. This is really gonna put us on the map. Go to Wix.com and create your professional website today.
Meet Grammarly Business, a solution to help your entire organization communicate more clearly and professionally. It's a writing assistant that works seamlessly across platforms. Here's how Grammarly works when employees are writing emails. Grammarly offers real-time suggestions to improve clarity and professionalism as employees type. For more tailored suggestions, employees can seamlessly indicate their communication goals in the pop-up editing window. As they begin writing, they'll see relevant suggestions to improve the correctness, clarity, delivery, and engagement of their message. As changes are made, employees can see their progress charted in real time. And before
Overnight, Minneapolis on fire. Protesters leaving an auto parts store in flames. Others seen looting a local Target.
Tonight was a different night of protesting.
All of it after demonstrators approached one of the city's police precincts.
We're about to lose the front of the precinct if we don't move this crowd out of the front.
Officers in riot gear tried to maintain order.
You can see the smoke bombs in the distance, and police have been firing pepper spray to try and disperse this crowd. Hundreds of protesters had gathered here, and now police are trying to push them back to keep the peace.
They'd gathered hours before, furious at the death of 46-year-old George Floyd.
When is it really going to change? When is it really going to stop?
The outrage building nationwide. In Los Angeles overnight, Black Lives Matter protesters blocked a major freeway. This man jumped on a police cruiser as it sped away. President Trump weighed in, saying justice will be served and that he's asking the FBI to expedite its investigation into the case.
A very sad event. Very, very sad event.
Now, after the 4 Minneapolis officers involved were fired, the city's mayor is calling on the county attorney to charge the arresting officer.
Why is the man who killed George Floyd not in jail?
That officer, Derek Chauvin, is seen in this now viral video kneeling on Floyd's neck as he begs for help.
When you saw that video, what went through your head? That could have been me.
The police department initially said Floyd had been physically resisting. This new cell phone video appears to show the moment he steps out of his vehicle. 2 officers restrain him. Security footage from a nearby business shows officers walking him across the street in handcuffs. Records show Chauvin was a 19-year veteran of the department. He's been praised for valor during his career, but was also the subject of a dozen police misconduct complaints that resulted in no disciplinary action. His attorney declined to comment. This man owns a convenience store nearby. He says a store employee called police when Floyd allegedly tried to use a fake $20 bill, but that he didn't deserve this.
My employee called me while the officer had his knee on his neck, and she was crying, telling me, Mike, what should I do? The guy can't breathe, they're killing him.
Again, authorities here this morning are still assessing the damage. No telling how many protests are expected later today. But adding to the anger here is a new report from the fire department that reveals that George Floyd showed no signs of life when paramedics arrived on the scene, certainly adding to the questions here.
Yeah, absolutely. Gabe, you also mentioned at the top of the piece that there was a fatal shooting overnight in the middle of all those protests. What do you know about that?
Certainly, Hoda. Well, it's still very early on in the investigation, but there was one man found with a fatal gunshot wound. He was later pronounced dead. Police are now investigating that. They're looking into whether a pawn shop owner may have fired a shot and perhaps killed the man. But again, still very early on in the investigation. As you can see behind me, this is still a very chaotic scene.
And Gabe, a lot of people are also wondering what's taking so long for any charges to be brought forward, including the mayor who you interviewed. So is there a timeline for when that may happen?
Well, certainly, Hoda, that is adding to the anger here. Many of those protesters are wondering why these officers haven't been charged, but some authorities are asking for calm. A medical examiner's report is expected in less than 3 weeks. As you mentioned, the mayor, though, is taking that rare step on calling for that arresting officer to be charged. It's up to the county attorney, and right now he's given no timetable on this. What people are asking for as well is perhaps for the body camera video to be released. That is part of this investigation. Still certainly a lot lot of questions at this point, Hoda.
Yeah, seems like we've seen that incident from so many different angles. All right, Gabe, thank you.
The Dove Beauty Bar makes my skin glow. I've encouraged Serena, my best friend, to switch. Feels moisturized and clean. My friend Stephanie, her skin was dry. I'm like, girl, you better get you some Dove.
She hooked me up. With the Quarter Moisturizing Cream, Dove cleans and cares beautifully.
The Dove Beauty Bar makes my skin glow. I've encouraged Serena, my best friend, to switch. Feels moisturized and clean. My friend Stephanie, her skin was dry. I'm like, girl, you better get you some Dove.
She hooked me up. With the Quarter Moisturizing Cream, Dove cleans and cares beautifully.
New protests erupted in Minneapolis overnight after a black man died in police custody on Monday. Crowds of protesters swarmed the streets, facing off with officers in riot gear who fired tear gas and rubber bullets. It all stems from an incident on Monday night. You can see a Minneapolis officer pinning George Floyd face down, pressing a knee to his neck. Floyd pleads repeatedly for help, saying he can't breathe. It happened at least a dozen times. He was later pronounced dead at the hospital. 4 officers involved have been fired, and the FBI has joined the investigation. And joining us now is George Floyd's sister, Bridget, along with the Floyd family attorney, Benjamin Krupp. Good morning, Bridget. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bridget, I know you haven't had the stomach to look at that video, and I don't blame you. It's really horrifying. But would you just tell us how you and your family are doing in this moment?
Me and my family are taking this very, very hard. It's very heartbreaking. It's very disturbing to our peace. We're just doing the best that we can and making sure that we do the right thing, do what he would want us to do. And yes, it's very hard. It's very hard.
I can see that, Bridget. I can see that. Yesterday, there was some action taken against those officers. 4 officers, all 4 were fired. And you have said repeatedly that is not enough. What would be enough for you?
I would like for those officers to be charged with murder, because that's exactly what they did. They murdered my brother. He was crying for help. I don't need them to be suspended and able to work in another state or another county. Their license should be taken away, their job should be taken away, and they should be put in jail for murder.
Let me bring in Ben for a second, Ben Crump. I have a copy of the police report here, and this is what was submitted initially. And I'm going to read you a portion of it, and then I'm going to show you the video of what happened. They say here that George Floyd was ordered to, and this was all, by the way, over a forgery, a fake $20 bill. He was ordered to step from his car. After he got out, he physically resisted officers. Officers were able to get the suspect in handcuffs. Then this video emerged, Ben, that shows a different picture, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Huda. And we have more video emerging, video from the businesses' surveillance cameras on social media. Attorney Crump, we have people sending us new videos that have not been shown yet. And it shows, Huda, that, I mean, a nonviolent crime met with this kind of violent, lethal, excessive force, They were on his neck not for 1 minute, not for 2 minutes, not for 3 minutes, not for 4 minutes, not for 5 minutes, not for 6 minutes, not for 7 minutes, not for 8 minutes, but for 9 minutes while he is begging to breathe, begging for life. It's a I can't breathe again case in 2020. And it's worse than Eric Gardner in many ways because you hear the people even pleading with them. Please get your knee off his neck. Have some humanity. This is a human being.
And Ben, when you look also as the police report continues, and this is how the police report covers that part, they noted he appeared to be suffering medical distress. Officers called for an ambulance. He was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center by ambulance where he died. If not for that video of him pleading, of the bystanders begging the officers to basically get off of him, what would have happened with this case?
They would have gave a false narrative holder and they would have swept it under the rug. And we have this video and they have terminated them, but they need to be arrested, as Bridget said, and charged with murder, because how many more of these senseless, excessive force killings by the people who are supposed to protect us can we take in Black America and all of America?
Bridget, the mayor later acknowledged that that police report was inaccurate. He said being Black in America should not be a death sentence. The mayor also added that he should not have died. The governor called the lack of humanity in the video disturbing and sickening. He also made this statement. The governor said, "We will get answers and seek justice." Do you have faith, Bridget, that justice will be done in this case?
I have a lot of faith, because I believe in the utmost powerful God. Faith is something that me and my brother always talked about, because he was a God-fearing man, regardless of what he done. We all have our faults. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But I believe that justice will be served. I have enough faith to stand on it.
And just one final question for you, Ben Crump. LeBron James posted this picture that's been shown around a bit. It shows Colin Kaepernick kneeling and the police officer kneeling, and he basically says, do you understand now? Do you think that this case may actually be the tipping point?
I do, Huda, because when you think about 9 minutes, if you can take your cell phone and set it for 9 minutes and just sit there, America, and try to imagine a knee on your neck suffocating you and you begging to breathe. That's why it has to be the tipping point that we have to say everybody deserves equal justice, and we have to send a message with this case. We cannot allow those who are supposed to protect and serve us do this. There can't be two justice systems, one for Black America and one for white America. We have to have equal justice for the United States of America.
Well, Ben Crump, we appreciate you. Bridget, we wish the best to you and your family, and I know that your brother's a father of two. The youngest is 6 years old, and we wish her the best as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
I've encouraged Serena, my best friend, to switch. Feels moisturized and clean. My friend Stephanie, her skin was dry. I'm like, girl, you better get you some Dove.
She hooked me up. With a quarter moisturizing cream, Dove cleans and cares beautifully.
Let's talk about what's going on. Both the FBI, the Minnesota Department of Public Safety are investigating George's death. The 4 officers involved have been fired, which the mayor of Minneapolis said was the right call. But is that enough for your family, Philanese?
No, not at all. I love my brother. Everybody loves my brother. Knowing my brother is to love my brother. He screamed, "Mama, mama, I can't breathe. I can't breathe." And they didn't care. So I just don't understand what more we got to go through in life, man. They didn't have to do that to him. He's a gentle giant. He don't hurt anybody. He give his last to anybody. They didn't care. Worse than they treat animals. And I wouldn't treat animals like that. They took a life, now they deserve life. I don't feel sorry for them. They hurt me and they hurt my family. I can't take nothing back. I can't get my brother back. They at home, they sleep, they with their wives, they got kids. If something like that happened to them, they'll be just like me. I just don't know what's going on now.
So firing them is a good start, but we want to see justice for our family. And we want to see them charged. We want to have them arrested. They need to be charged with, because what they did was murder. And almost the whole world has witnessed that because somebody was gracious enough to report it.
The connection, we lost it for a second. You said you want to see them charged. Did you say charged with murder? Is that what you said?
We want to see them charged with murder. And we want them to be convicted. We want them arrested. They need to pay for what they did. He didn't deserve what happened to him. And they didn't do anything to help him. They were supposed to be there to serve and to protect. And I didn't see a single one of them lift a finger to do anything to help. While he was begging for his life, not one of them tried to do anything to help him. That I didn't see. What I did see was murder. And that's what I want them to be arrested and charged and convicted for.
Ben, I haven't forgotten about you, so hold on. I'm not going to forget about you. I just want to continue on with the family just for a little bit. Okay. So Rodney, hold up that's your brother's photo, right?
Yes, it's him.
Rodney's holding up his brother's. Yeah, I can see it. It's got a little bit of a glare on it. If you can just bend it down, there you go. And you guys have a house full there. Who all is there with you, helping you get through this?
Family. All my nieces, my cousins, we're all here. It's just like my wife. It's just like my brothers and sisters. They all like that to me. It's bigger than the nieces and stuff like that and cousins. We all come up together.
We put the picture up that you're holding up, so we had it up on screen. So you're good, Rodney. The reason I ask is because, I said that we had we had 2 viruses that's infecting America strongly right now, and that is COVID and racism. COVID-19, racism 20. Can you explain to America when people protest over criminal justice and police brutality and racism, can you explain, as someone who's going through this, as someone who's dealing with it, to America, what that feels like and why people are out there protesting for the very thing that happened to your loved one?
I think, frankly, people are really tired of seeing this happen time and time again, and we're just not seeing justice for these people who are losing their lives, and it just shouldn't happen. And so I think a lot of people can't get angry about it until it touches them or it's their family member. But what we're seeing is people at large are really tired of seeing this happen and justice not being served.
Benjamin Crump, in the initial police statement said that they were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and noted that he appeared to be suffering medical distress. Without this video, do you think what happened to George would have come to light? And let me preface that, because they're saying that he died at a hospital. There are witnesses who are on social media and who are contacting, and I don't know which one. That's what police are saying that they believe that he died there at the scene. So, do you think he died at the hospital? Do you think he lost his life at the scene? And do you think that this would have come to light without this video?
Well, Don, we know that he went unconscious at the scene. And it's important to note, Don, on my Instagram and Facebook, @Attorney Crump, there is new surveillance video from a restaurant that shows you George Floyd's demeanor. And you look at that video for yourself, it doesn't seem like he was posing a threat to these police officers, and they did not have to use this lethal, excessive force for somebody who they was investigating for a nonviolent forgery charge. I mean, we are seeing I Can't Breathe again in 2020. And it's so much worse because, Don, it's not 1 minute, it's not 2 minutes, it's not 3 minutes, it's not 4 minutes, it's not 5 minutes, it's not 6 minutes, it's not 7 minutes, it's not 8 minutes, it is over 9 minutes. They have a man begging for his life with a knee of a police officer on his neck, and nobody offers him any humanity. I would ask that people take a stopwatch and put it for 9 minutes and just try to imagine George Floyd struggling for breath, struggling for life. How is this not murder?
If you, just about the length of this interview is the time that he was begging to breathe and for the police officer to take his knee off of his neck. Benjamin, I want to thank you, but I want to give the family the last word here. What would you like to say about George?
I would like to say we need justice for my brother. They need to be convicted of murder. And basically do not let it for 25 years in jail. It needs to be murder. And I know he'll say the same for me. He will go all the way to the end. I'm not going to take my foot off these folks' neck for doing what they done. Because this is, I can imagine my brother would not even be able to sleep at night this happened to me. And it hurts me deep.
At this time, this it's like when my mother, like the time my mother passed away around this time. She's been dead for like 2 years now. He loved my mom. And for him to be calling my mom out like that, that meant a lot to me, just sitting there, because he loved my mom. He wasn't the same when she passed away. Yeah. He wasn't the same. Nobody was the same. We loved my mom. We loved him. And they took him away. That was my mom's freak of nature. She would say that all the time. I want to see my freak of nature. He's a gentle giant. They took him away from us. They on the ground for over 10 minutes, just with the knee in his neck. The man couldn't breathe. They broke his neck. They didn't care.
And you know what? Again, we say neck, but that knee was on his throat. Windpipe. We got to call it like it is. And I'm tired of this just crying on TV, and this hurts all of us deeply. And you know, look, we just need murder, complete charge them with what they done. Because you know what? They need to go home to their family, like my brother said earlier. We don't get to see our family. We don't get to see him. We don't get to see his family. It's upset the whole community where you're from in Houston and, you know, family indeed. And this hurts me that I am crying on TV, another black family going through this nonsense while they're at home sitting with their wives and kids laughing because they done killed another black man. You know, it's senseless. They need to be convicted of murder. And it's, man, you know what? Just do y'all job. Real job.
Well, Rodney, I want to thank you, Tara. Thank you, Philanese, and Benjamin Crump. For you.
Yes, sir.
So in that same vein, because we're talking about this, these viruses that are infecting America, imagine when you said I do for what I do for you, I'm doing for me. What I'm doing for me, I'm doing for you. Imagine if that was me on the ground, how you would feel as a friend, as someone I spend a lot of time with. Imagine how people around this country feel when their friends, like you, both of us are a different background, when their friends say nothing, when they do nothing, except send out a tweet or say, oh man, that's terrible. I can't believe that happens. And then when they see everyday racism, they don't stand up for it. Imagine how that feels to people of color in this country. It feels terrible. Is that really being a friend? And I'm not saying you specifically. You understand what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
I totally understand. And, you know, the only word I can use is just hurt. It all hurts. We didn't have the plan, the show plan, the way it unfolded. We just couldn't let Williams go. I mean, he was saying what you and I have heard, you know, you've heard in your own heart. I've heard from so many people that I love that they're so afraid that it's going to be them. It's going to be their kid. And white people roll their eyes like, oh, come on, man. This only happens like once in a while. It doesn't have to happen that often. If every time it happens in your mind, it seems to go unanswered in terms of why it's okay. So we kept him on just so that people could hear how scary it is for someone to watch that and think.
But that's the problem, Chris. It's not that it happens. It happens a lot. We just don't see it. We're just seeing from the video. This is the reason that Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee. And then people were upset, and the President of the United States having the nerve to call him and others who were standing up for this sort of injustice, to call them sons of bitches. This is why people are standing up, so that it doesn't lead to this, so that you aren't sitting at home saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Look at what they're doing to this man. This happens all the time. This is why he was doing it. And the nerve and the gall of people to say, oh my gosh, stop doing this. I want to enjoy my football game. Now think about that now in this context, how selfish that sounds, and how you might feel if that was your loved one on the ground, and that there were people who have been protesting this all along and who have been fed up for years, and they're trying to get your attention by something as respectful ball game, yet you can call them sons of bitches. But then you look for an excuse for this police officer in Minneapolis saying, well, there must have been something that led up to this. The guy must have been resisting. Clearly, this just can't be the act of a police officer or someone who is supposed to be protecting the community. Yes, it is. People who continue to look for excuses. Well, what is the rest of the video? Where's the rest of it? Wasn't he resisting? He must have been doing something terrible. He shouldn't have been in this position. Maybe he should have been complied. How many should have been complying? How many more excuses do you need to make before you examine yourself and say, okay, maybe I need to wake up a little bit and take a good long look at what I've been doing. Maybe I need to understand or realize that the environment that this president has trafficked in can help to lead to these sorts of situations where people think that that sort of behavior, meaning the people who are doing these things, the people who are calling the cops on people falsely in Central Park, the people who are chasing people down the street in Georgia and killing them, that you may begin to think that your actions are normal. That you may begin to think that you, as the preeminent voice, can do things that are inhumane to other people, and it will be accepted. The game was given away. The woman in Central Park said, I'm calling the cops, I'm going to say that this scary black man did something to me, knowing that the cops would come there and probably be on her side and not his. The police officer, according to your witness, he looked him in the eye. He told the police officer, hey, stop it, you're going to kill the man. The cop said nothing, maybe shouldn't be on drugs. They gave the game away. That is the game. We can do it and we can get away with it, and no one is going to tell us no one is going to tell us otherwise. We're not going to go to jail for it. Maybe I'll lose my job. I'm going to keep my pension though, because guess what? The police association is going to fight for me. That is what has been happening in this country for years, and that's why the Black Lives Matter folks are out there, and that's why people are protesting, Chris. I'm not condoning people protesting, but let me tell you, people are tired of living in an occupied country, a free country, that's a country that's supposed to be free, yet they are occupied. So they are frustrated and they are angry and they are out there and they're upset. You shouldn't be taking televisions, but I can't tell people how to react to this. I don't know how it is to live under those circumstances in those neighborhoods. I do live in Harlem, but I am lucky enough that I have this job that keeps me protected from many of those things. Other people don't have that. I'm sorry to keep going on, but this is how you and I talk. And this is how we continue to talk. And I think that every person out there, listen, if you're black and you don't have a white friend, get one and tell them what's on your mind. And if you are white and you don't have a black friend, then get one and let him tell you what is on what is on their mind. Because that is the only way we're going to solve this. It is not incumbent upon black people to stop racism, to stop this. It is incumbent upon people who hold the power in this society to help to do that, to do the heavy lifting. And guess who that is? Who is that, Chris?
White people. I don't talk much, but when I do, I make it count. I think that the protests make sense. I don't think you can process the anger without them. Now, you start committing crimes and it's a riot, that's not protest.
That's not, I get what you're saying.
It's a different issue, but at the same time, I remember what Dr. King said about this, and I understand that it's not easy to keep emotions in check when nobody seems to be keeping them in check when you are the victim. I get it. What hurts most, I think, in this particular fact pattern, other than the duration, is why the hell were the other cops standing there doing nothing? Nobody is trained to put a knee on a throat.
Because it's not about training. It's not about police training. It's about the way we have been trained in society to react to those things. It is okay. Now imagine if that was an 18, 19, 20-year-old white kid on the ground. Do you think those officers would be doing the same thing or reacting the same way?
That's the troubling question. That's the meme that's going around right now with the cops, with the black kid on the ground saying hello to the white guy in camo with the AK-47 and the mask who was protesting in Michigan. That when it's white people with guns and they're out and they're angry and their faces with cops.
Didn't see any of that.
Everybody's civil.
Didn't see any of that.
But
flag burning, spitting in police officers' faces, yelling at police officers armed with heavy weaponry. Didn't see any of that. Did you see anybody with their foot on anybody's neck?
I mean, you've heard it. People make it a joke, but it's funny because it's tragic and sad. If black people said, let's all go out and get guns and start the protest, that would be the fastest change of gun law culture in this country.
Yeah.
If you started to have African Americans buying up AR-15s or whatever you want to call them and going out and protesting legally with legal weapons, you'd see a change in the laws. Yeah. And that's sad.
Yeah. And if you see a black man who has this platform, a television show, who has the gall enough to tell you how it is, guess how many people are going to call him racist and a race baiter?
Who cares?
Check out my social media feed and see what happens.
Who cares? You say what's true and you say what's real. And look, you're not
exactly
getting it from a second source. You lived it.
Yeah, I don't care. Go for it. I really don't care. You can save it or you can put it out there. I do not care. I am so frustrated. Listen, I've got to talk about the big story as well that's happening in the news, and that is coronavirus. But I'm so sick of, as a person of color, especially a black man, as my actions, my thoughts, whatever I do is being seen as more aggressive or somehow sinister just because of this shell that I am in. I am sick of it. I'm sick of having to monitor myself because of this body that I'm in. It is exhausting. It is mentally and physically exhausting, and that is how people of color feel in this country. And you know what? I love you for listening to me here on television, and I love you for doing it in person. So thank you.
Or perhaps tomorrow at the current rate, deaths from coronavirus in this country will reach and surpass 100,000. One family's tragedy, one spouse's loss, one friend's absence, not 10 times or even 1,000 times 10. It is one life lost and everything that means times 100,000. Yet even as we grapple with that and we show you the faces of those who died, we want to focus especially tonight on the notion of this moment as a turning point when things could go either way. Looking at the moving average of new cases nationwide over the last 2 weeks, you can see it's barely changed, holding steady at about 20,000. Yet while as that line stays flat, thankfully, states and localities across the country have been lifting outbreak-related restrictions. And this holiday weekend, we saw not every place, but in many places, the almost total collapse of social distancing, which is troubling to the experts, including at the World Health Organization, who see this moment as a potential turn for the worse toward a second peak in a first wave that is still hitting. Not a second wave, it's a second peak. Others, the president included, are touting this as a turning point toward a reopened country. And for a moment, let's just assume that he's right and ask, what does presidential leadership look like at such a time? So that when what everyone hopes is a return to some kind of normality doesn't unleash a new wave of disease. What kind of things should a president be doing and saying? What kind of behavior should he be modeling? How should he be helping the country get through the loss of 100,000 American lives in just a matter of months? Well, tonight, he once again mocked the man running against him, former Vice President Biden, for wearing a mask in public.
Biden can wear a mask, but he was standing outside with his wife, perfect conditions, perfect weather. They're inside, they don't wear masks, and so I thought it was very unusual that he had one on. But I thought that was fine. I wasn't criticizing him at all. Why would I ever do a thing like that?
Well, y'all, the stock market is about to close. I was trying to keep you updated on what's going on here in Minnesota. Let me just try to find some more information.
Got a question for you.
I'm still here.
So in
I'm
that
just
same vein, because
watching,
we're talking about these
working on my
viruses that are
portfolio, and I'm trying to
infecting
cook me
America.
something to eat as well.
Imagine when you said I do for
I'm
what I
really
do
multitasking
for you,
here.
I'm doing for me.
My account is down. I'm like $8 right now. I can show it to you, but I've been buying and selling stuff as well. Yeah, so I'm 53 cents. So it seems like fuck, the market is I don't know what's going on right before the market is closing. So I'm just sitting here trying to work on my portfolio and balancing it out. Basically is what I'm trying to do. And I'm also trying to keep myself abreast of really what's going on here in Minnesota. This happened 2 hours ago.
Training at the shooting range isn't always convenient. It can be
I love gun
expensive
range.
and time-consuming. Drive.
I guess there's no audio for this right now. It's just a live feed. So please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. All about networking. So yeah, just share and spread the word about my channel.
European risk assets. A lot of this has more to do with valuation, the idea that the U.S. Press conference on the table for tomorrow. Again, it is a little stronger today, but that's right now, that number you're looking at right there, that's right above its record lows. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Chinese government is willing to defend that peg
So we are taking a live look in Minneapolis. They are protesting outside of the 3rd Precinct here in Minneapolis. Now, President Donald Trump is promising justice as the death of a man in Minneapolis while he was in police custody. It has sparked protests now. In tweets, Trump said he has already directed the FBI and Department of Justice to take a look into the death of George Floyd. Now, video had shown a Minneapolis police officer pressing his knee on Floyd's neck while Floyd said he couldn't breathe. He was pronounced dead at a hospital after being detained by police. President Trump tweeted, quote, "At my request, the FBI and the Department of Justice are already well into an investigation as to the very sad and tragic death in Minnesota of George Floyd." He went on to say, "I have asked for this investigation to be expedited and greatly appreciate all of the work done by local law enforcement." He added, "My heart goes out to George's family and friends. Justice will be served." Now, the president's tweets come just hours after Mayor Jacob Frey called for the officer involvement in the arrest to be charged with Floyd's death. And Minneapolis Police Department has already fired 4 officers who were involved with this call. I do want to quickly just change gears here and show you a look at, this is Los Angeles. We do have protests for George Floyd happening in Los Angeles as well. And so this incident that happened here a little bit earlier, these protesters started to make their way across this freeway here. Police were trying to keep them at a safe distance from other vehicles. They started to, protesters started to climb onto the cop car, so the cop was trying to leave the area, and someone was sitting on the hood of the police car when the police started to take off and had fallen off of the police car. So that is why now paramedics and it looks like the fire department have responded here. Again, this is a live look at some video in our choppers up above the Los Angeles area. They've stepped out here tonight to show their support to George Floyd and the protesters in Minnesota. Going to take us back to Minnesota, though, since we do have those live aerials coming in from that area. A little bit earlier this evening, I did see some kind of white on the ground there. It looked like they may have been doing tear gas into the crowd. That did happen last night. And so state leaders in Minnesota, along with Hennepin County attorney, say a thorough investigation into Floyd's death is underway, but they did decline to say when charges would come down. So if you do want to get the latest information, you can always head on over to fox10phoenix.com. We also have a number of different stories on there about this incident. And if you want to just continue to listen in, I'm going to give you the timeline of events that details the moments that led up to the death of the 46-year-old. And so George Floyd died at the hospital Monday after he was apprehended by Minneapolis police officers. Now, this was near the intersection of 38th Street and Chicago Avenue South. A video was taken by a bystander, and it showed one of the officers pinning Floyd to the ground, pressing his knee into his neck as Floyd repeats that he cannot breathe. You can go watch that video on fox10phoenix.com, also on Fox's Facebook page as well. Now, Floyd eventually becomes unresponsive, but the officer continues to hold his knee to the man's neck until an ambulance arrives. And so Monday around 8 to 8:30, that's when officers had responded to a report of forgery in progress at where they then arrived. They encountered Floyd, identified as the suspect, in his car. Police say they ordered Floyd out of the vehicle. He was physically resisted officers. Floyd was then handcuffed, and then bystander video shows those moments that followed in which he was pinned down, one officer keeping his knee on Floyd's neck until he loses consciousness. Minutes later, then the ambulance arrives. Around 9:25 p.m. is when they officially called Floyd's death at Hennepin County Medical Center. So on Tuesday at 12:41 a.m., Minneapolis Police Department sends a press release on George Floyd's death, calling it a medical incident. Just a few hours later, 3:11 a.m., Minneapolis Police Department announces FBI will be part of the investigation. Then at 6:45 on Tuesday morning, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minneapolis Police Chief hold a joint press conference to say they've seen the bystander video, say, quote, what we saw was horrible, completely and utterly messed up. Then at 8:46 in the morning, St. Paul's mayor released a statement writing, quote, the video of a Minneapolis police officer killing a defenseless handcuffed man is one of the most vile and heartbreaking images I've ever seen. The officer who stood guard is just as responsible as his partner. Both must be held fully accountable. This must stop now. So you can understand why these protests are happening. Again, this is the live look at Minneapolis, and we do have this other look of protests that are continuing to happen in Los Angeles as well. It does look like medical personnel have left that scene. They did take one person by ambulance away. And again, these protests have been happening ever since this incident. So at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, Senator Amy Klobuchar released a statement calls for thorough investigation into Floyd's death. Just before 10 a.m., the Minnesota governor then released his own statement writing, quote, the lack of humanity in this disturbing video is sickening. We will get answers and seek justice. Then at 10:30, on Tuesday. So again, that incident happened Monday night. The very next morning, an attorney retained by George Floyd's family identified the man who died.
Damn market
and
is
so we
crashed.
learned who that person was in that video that had started to surface and go around. Memorials start to pop up outside of Cub Foods at that 38th Street and Chicago Avenue South. And by 11 a.m., Hennepin County Attorney's Office released a statement saying they're shocked and saddened by what appeared in a recent video. They'll be reviewing the case for possible charges. By noon, people started to gather for the protests at the site of Floyd's death at 38th Street and Chicago Avenue. So that is where these personnel are now as well. So noon yesterday on Tuesday, Minnesota chapter of Council on American Islamic Relations calls for the arrests of those officers. And then around 12:45, American Civil Liberties Union and ACLU of Minnesota responds, calling for fair, independent, and transparent investigation. They go on to say, quote, you can't watch this appalling video posted by brave eyewitnesses on social media without seeing police officers' callous disregard for a black man's life. And you can't help but conclude
So the
that
market
yet
is
another
closing less
tragic
than
death was
22
both
minutes here,
needless
and you see it's
and
in the
preventable.
red.
Now that again was ACLU Minnesota Executive Director John Gordon, who had said that in a statement. Just around 2 p.m. yesterday, the police chief did announce all 4 responding officers of that incident have been fired. And then around 4:30 yesterday is when demonstrators began to block traffic at Chicago Avenue and 39th Street. 5 p.m. the protest officially started yesterday. Hundreds gathered at the site of Floyd's death. And then just before 6, the Hennepin County Medical Examiner did release its first report. It says Floyd died at 9:25 Monday night. His cause of death has not been yet determined, pending further testing and investigation by the Medical Examiner's Office, the Minnesota BCA, and the FBI. There have been multiple people who have gone in and been stealing items from Target, doing a lot of looting here in this area. This Target located right near where all the protests are happening, and you can see people coming in and out with lots of packages, and many people were even spotted loading TVs up into trucks. I'm going to continue on with the timeline just to give you an idea on what all has unfolded then since that Monday night. We've talked about all the statements that have been released, the medical examiner's report, Well, 6:30 last night, crowds then were marching to Minneapolis's 3rd precinct. And videos did show some demonstrators throwing objects at police squad cars. Police then were seen spraying pepper spray at protesters. And around 7:30 is when some demonstrators started damaging property at that 3rd precinct. Photos and videos did show a fence torn down, squad cars damaged, windows broken. And so just before 8 p.m. is when signs of tear gas being used by Minneapolis police on protesters were seen. And around 8:30 last night, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden tweeted about the case, saying George Floyd deserves better and his family deserves justice. His life mattered. He went on to say, "I'm grateful for the swift action in Minneapolis to fire the officers involved. They must be held responsible for their actions. The FBI should conduct a thorough investigation." So last night, Minnesota Congresswomen sent a letter to Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman calling for a thorough investigation. And then we do have this afternoon, the Minneapolis mayor had called for charges against the officer who arrested George Floyd and had held his knee on his neck, saying, quote, "Why is this man who killed George Floyd not in jail? If I'd done it or you did, we would be in jail." So things have just since then unfolded even more. You can see once again protesters not only damaging property at that 3rd precinct in Minneapolis, but now also here at this Target where they've been doing a lot of looting. Last night, that Target did have to close early to try to stop these protesters from doing any more damage and to keep their employees safe. But you can see here tonight, it's becoming a problem once again. So once more, this right here is Minneapolis, and I just want to turn things right back around and show you one more time that it is also having protests happen, not just in Minnesota where it happened, but also across the country. Here is a look at Los Angeles, where protesters are in the streets. They made their way across the freeway. You can see they've stopped once again to be protesting, holding up their signs, waving flags, and we will keep you covered on more information that unfolds right here on News Now. All right, for those of you here with us on News Now, we do appreciate you tuning in. I just wanted to give you a look here at protests that are happening in Los Angeles. You can see that we do have a large group that have come together to protest the incident that happened in Minneapolis. But again, we're taking a live look in Los Angeles. They are protesting for George Floyd, who lost his life while being taken into custody by Minneapolis police. Earlier here in Los Angeles, things were starting to get a little bit dicey as police were trying to block off protesters from crossing the freeway. Some protesters then were jumping onto police cars, and as one was trying to leave, a person fell off the police car. Then emergency personnel, paramedics, and fire department had to respond to that area. You can see now we do have this group. They made their way across the freeway. They're now gathered in another area, and it looks like they're listening to some speakers at this time. So once again, these people here in Los Angeles also protesting for Minneapolis. So I want to turn things back to Minneapolis, since that is the main location where things are happening, and that's where the incident did take place, again, on Monday night. For those of you who are here with us, you can always head on over to fox10phoenix.com if you want to read more about everything that was going on here. But you can see a lot of protesters outside of the 3rd Precinct and in the area where Floyd lost his life. And it has grown increasingly tense in Minneapolis. Not only from last night to Wednesday, looting was reported as outrage grew over George Floyd, whose death in police custody was recorded on video. It did go viral, so you can go watch that again on fox10phoenix.com. Now, Fox News' Mike Tobin reported live from the scene and was caught in the crossfire, said he felt pepper spray get into his eyes, saying, quote, some of the flashbangs have been deployed primarily from police on the rooftop. And Tobin said at one point, standing with a news camera and microphone between the lines of protesters and police officers. Now, videos of the protests showed a line of police slowly backing away from Minneapolis intersection as protesters continued to move forward, carrying signs and chanting, "I can't breathe." You can see they've now fully taken over this area here in Minneapolis. A lot of people stepping out to show their support. Now, last night, a lot of loud bangs could be heard periodically throughout the live shot, and even tonight you could hear that. Ground was littered with bottles that our reporter said protesters had hurled at police. Now, police on the ground carried their bicycles like shields, along with tasers, pepper spray, and tear gas. Received cover from garrison of officers on the nearby rooftop of the department's 3rd Precinct, armed with tear gas launchers. Now, the protesters want charges filed against the officers who were involved in Floyd's death. Although there was only one officer who had his knee on Floyd's neck, there were officers who were just standing by. Now, a nearby scene we've been kind of seeing our chopper go back and forth resembled a riot. It had looters striking at a Target store that's just off East Lake Street, which is near the precinct building. And one person said, "This is awful out here." That was a tweet by one of the news channel from Fox 9's Weekend Anchors saying, "No police, looting continues." So they've been going in and out of Target, taking what they want. And so she posted video that did show the mob of people, some of them in masks for coronavirus, at the front of the store. Looters made off with items all that ranged from TVs to clothing and even groceries. That's again according to our Fox 9 news outlet. Now, in that video that prompted the protest, Floyd did plead for his life, saying he couldn't breathe. Numerous bystanders implored the police to take pressure off of his neck and check his pulse. He was unconscious by the end of the clip, which is several minutes long. Medics then arrive in an ambulance to load him onto a stretcher. He appeared limp. He was later then pronounced dead. Lawmakers on both sides of the political spectrum have voiced concerns over the video. President Trump, we mentioned, has been tweeting here Wednesday tonight that he had requested the FBI to open an investigation into Floyd's death, saying, quote, "My heart goes out to George's family and friends," saying justice will be served.